Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paskatya Desatarine Namaste Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Radhadesh Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Radha Gopinata Radha Gopinata Radha Gopinata Shri Radhe. Jaya Radha Gopinata Radha Jaya Radha Gopinata Radha Gopinata Radha Gopinata Shri Radhe. Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada.
Jaya Om Vishmata Paramahansa Parivrata Stotra Sata Divine Grace AC Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki. This confirmed with Charity Divine Grace AC Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki. Jaya Om Vishmata Paramahansa Parivrata Stotra Sata Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki. Koki Bhaktivedanta Ki. Ariyanam Das Charity Charinam Charity Ki. Jaya. Thank you, Shri Krishna Chaitanya. Great Prabhu Nityananda. She invented that Darshan and Gaura Bhakti Jaya. Shri Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shankar Radhun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Radhadesh Ki Jai. Radhadesh Ki Jai. Jaya Puri Ki Jai. Radhadesh Ki Jai. Imurmale Ki Jai. Gangaye Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Rasi Devi Maharani Ki Jai. Prabhupada Transcendental Lotus Abduction Marathon 2025 Ki Jai. Very close, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Radha Ki Jai. All glories to seven devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the seven devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to all the seven devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Guru Radharanga. All glories to Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Hiranyakashi Purvakshaha Shilatankana Kalaye Ito Nishimha Bharato Nishimho Yato Yato Yamitato Nishimho Bhagi Nishimha Hridaye Nishimho Nishimha Madim Sharanam Prapadye Tavakara Kamalavare Nakama Bhuta Singham Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanubringham Keshavadita Narahare Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Nrsimhadev, 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 Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Shinga Bhagavan ki jai, Prahlad Maharaj ki jai, Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bo, Shri Radha Gopinath, Lita Devi, Shaka Devi ki jai.
Hare Wat zeg je? Ik heb Gara Arki gezongen.
Ja, dat hoorde ik beneden. Ik doe de transfer.
Wat zachter doen. Nee, maar ik vind het zo even niet maken. Ik doe het niet meer.
Hij is naar...
Hallo.
Hij weg. Hij maakt een geintje.
Wow. Een grote tank. Gisteren ben ik
Komt tegen de start.
heel tijd als je de drempel bij de mond gaat. Als je die niet ziet en je bot staat met je teen tegenaan, dat is echt wat
Hij is opzij.
hij is helemaal blauw. Het is nog een boekje.
Ja, is oké. Ik weet niet of er zoveel mensen komen.
Oh.
Is oké. Neem jij die? Is goed. Ga jij vandaag zingen? Huh? He doesn't want to sing. Oh, so it's up to me again. Oh no!
No. The moist.
Well, let's see if we still know what is the text. Krishna, 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 hey. 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 Krishna, 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 Rakshama. Krishna, 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 Rakshama. Krishna, 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 Pahima. Krishna, 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 Pahima. Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rakshama. Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava Parimam. Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava Parimam. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada. Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, the one and only Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Srila Prabhupada. Go to Prema. Okay, so we're reading from Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Yes.
Summary study of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, all the pastimes of Lord Shri Krishna, by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. There's a lot of titles, we're not going to all name them, we're just happy for this book. Ta-da.
Ta-da! KV, where are we?
Page 282, second paragraph.
All right, here we go. Jai Prabhupada.
Junior and Majestic Retreat Dandy Sannyasi.
What? The second paragraph. Okay, yeah, okay. Arjuna, in the dress of a tree dandy sannyasi, remained in the city of Dwarka for the 4th month of the rainy season, devising a plan whereby he could get Subhadra as his wife. None of the inhabitants of Dwarka, including Lord Balaram, could recognize the sannyasi to be Arjuna. Therefore, all of them offered their respects and obeisances to the sannyasi without knowing the actual situation. One day, Lord Balaram invited this particular sannyasi to lunch at his home. Balaramji very respectfully offered him all kinds of palatable dishes, and the so-called sannyasi was eating sumptuously. While eating at the home of Balaramji, Arjuna was simply looking at beautiful Subhadra, who was very enchanting to great heroes and kings. Out of love for her, Arjuna's eyes brightened, and he looked at her with glittering eyes. Arjuna decided that somehow or other he would achieve Subhadra as his wife, and his mind became agitated on account of this strong desire. Arjuna, the grandfather of Maharaj Parikshit, was himself extraordinarily beautiful, and his bodily structure was very attractive to Subhadra, who decided within her mind that she would accept only Arjuna as her husband. As a simple girl, she was smiling with great pleasure looking at Arjuna. Thus Arjuna also became more and more attracted by her. In this way, Subhadra dedicated herself to Arjuna, and he resolved to marry her by any means. He then became absorbed 24 hours a day in thoughts of how he could get Subhadra as his wife. He was afflicted with the thoughts of getting Subhadra and had not a moment's peace of mind. Once upon a time, Subhadra, seated on a chariot, came out of the palace fort to see the gods in the temple. Arjuna took this opportunity. With the permission of Vasudeva and Devaki, he kidnapped her. After getting on Subhadra's chariot, he prepared himself for a fight, taking up his bow and holding off with his arrows. The soldiers ordered to check him. Arjuna took Subhadra away. While Subhadra was thus being kidnapped by Arjuna, her relatives and family members began to cry, but still he took her, just as a lion takes his prey and departs. When it was disclosed to Lord Brahma that the so-called Balaram. Oh, jeez, those boys were quick. Phew! Just when it was disclosed to Lord Balaram that the so-called sannyasi was Arjuna, who had played such a who planned such a device simply to take away Subhadra, and that he had actually taken her. He became very angry, just as the waves of the ocean become agitated on the full moon day. Lord Balaram became greatly disturbed.
Lord Krishna was in favor of Arjuna. Therefore, along with other members of the family, he tried to pacify Balaram by falling at his feet and begging him to pardon Arjuna. Krishna convinced Lord Balaram that Subhadra was attached to Arjuna, and thus Balaram became pleased to know that she wanted Arjuna as her husband. The matter was settled, and to please the newly married couple, Lord Balaram arranged to send the dowry consisting of an abundance of riches, including elephants, chariots, horses, menservants, and maidservants. Maharaj Parikshit was very eager to hear more about Krishna, and so, after finishing the narration of Arjuna's kidnapping Subhadra, Sukadev Goswami began to narrate another story as follows. There was a householder, a Brahmana, in the city of Mithila, the capital of the kingdom of Videha. This Brahmana, whose name was Shrutadeva, was a great devotee of Lord Krishna. Because he was fully Krishna conscious and always engaged in the service of the Lord, he was completely peaceful in mind and detached from all material attraction. He was very learned and had no desire other than to be fully situated in Krishna consciousness. Although in the order of household life, he never took great pains to earn anything for his livelihood. He was satisfied with whatever he could achieve without much endeavor. And somehow or other he lived in that way. Every day he would get the necessities of life in just the quantities required and not more. That was his destiny. The Brahmana had no desire to get more than what he needed, and thus he was peacefully executing the regulative principles of a Brahmana's life and enjoined in the revealed scriptures. Fortunately, the king of Mithila was as good a devotee as the Brahmana. The name of this famous king was Balulasva. He was very well established in his reputation as a good king, and he was not at all ambitious to extend his kingdom for the sake of sense gratification. As such, both the Brahmana and King Bahulasva remained pure devotees of Lord Krishna in Mithila. Since Lord Krishna was very merciful towards these two devotees, King Bahulasva and the Brahmana Shrutadeva, he one day asked his driver, Taruka, to take his chariot into the capital city of Mithila. Lord Krishna was accompanied by the great sages Narada, Vamanadeva, Atri, Yasadev, Parusuram, Aisita, Aruni, Sukadev, Braspati, Kanva, Maitreya, Chavana, and others. Lord Krishna and the sages passed through many villages and towns, and everywhere the citizens would receive them with great respect and offer them articles in worship. To the citizens who came to see the Lord and all the assembled sages, it seemed as though the sun were present along with his various satellite planets. In that journey, Lord Krishna and the sages passed through the kingdoms of Anartha, Dvana, Kura Jangala, Kanka, Matsya, Panchala, Kunti, Madhu, Kekya, Koshala, and Arna. And thus all the citizens of these places, both men and women, could see Lord Krishna face to face. In this way they enjoyed celestial happiness, with open hearts, full of love and affection for the Lord. And when they saw the face of the Lord, it seemed to them that they were drinking nectar through their eyes. When they saw Krishna, all the ignorant misconceptions of their lives dissipated. When the Lord passed through the various countries and the people came to visit him, simply by glancing over them, the Lord would bestow all good fortune upon them and liberate them from all kinds of ignorance. In some places, the demigods would join with the human beings, and the glorification of the Lord would cleanse all directions of all inauspicious things. In this way, Lord Krishna gradually reached the kingdom of Vidya.
Yes. Nice. When the citizens received the news of the Lord's arrival, they all felt unlimited happiness and came to welcome him, taking gifts in their hands to offer. As soon as they saw Lord Krishna, their hearts immediately blossomed in transcendental bliss, just like lotus flowers upon the rising of the sun. Previously they had simply heard the names of the great sages, but had never seen them. Now, by the mercy of Lord Krishna, they had the opportunity of seeing both the great sages and the Lord himself. King Bahalashva and the Brahmin Shrutadev, knowing well that the Lord had come there just to grace them with favour, immediately fell at the Lord's lotus feet and offered their respects. With folded hands, the king and the Brahmana each simultaneously invited Lord Krishna and all the sages to his home. In order to please both of them, Lord Krishna expanded himself into two and went to the houses of each of one of them. Yet neither the king nor the Brahmin could understand that the Lord had gone to the house of the other. Both thought that the Lord had gone only to his own house. That he and his companions were present in both houses, although both the Brahmin and the king thought he was present in one house only, is another opulence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This opulence is described in the revealed scriptures as Vaibhav Prakash. When Lord Krishna married 16,000 wives, he expanded himself into 16,000 forms, each one of them as powerful as he himself. Similarly, in Vrindavan, when Brahma stole Krishna's calves and cowherd boys, Krishna expanded himself into many new calves and boys. Bahalashva, the king of Videha, was very intelligent and was a perfect gentleman. He was astonished that so many great sages, along with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, were personally present in his home. He knew perfectly well that conditioned souls engaged in worldly affairs cannot be 100% pure, whereas the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his pure devotees are always transcendental to worldly contamination. Therefore, when he found that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, and all the great sages were at his home, he was astonished, and he began to thank Lord Krishna for his causeless mercy.
Feeling very much obliged and wanting to receive his guests to the best of his ability, he called for nice chairs and cushions, and Lord Krishna, along with all the sages, sat down very comfortably. At that time, King Bahalashva's mind was very restless. not because of any problems, but because of great ecstasy of love and devotion. His heart was filled with love and affection for the Lord and his associates, and his eyes were filled with tears of ecstasy. He washed the feet of his divine guests, and afterwards he and his family members sprinkled the water on their own heads. After this, he offered the guests nice flower garlands, sandalwood pulp, incense, new garments, ornaments, lambs, cows, and bulls, in a manner just befitting his royal position. He worshipped each one of them in this way. When all had been fed sumptuously and were sitting very comfortably, Bahulashva came before Lord Krishna and caught his lotus feet. He placed them on his lap, and while massaging the feet with his hands, he began to speak about the glories of the Lord in a sweet voice. My dear Lord, my dear Lord, you are the supreme of all living entities and a witness within the heart. You are cognizant of everyone's activities. Thus we are duty-bound to always think of of your lotus feet, so that we can remain in a secure position and not deviate from the eternal service. As a result of our continuous remembrance of your lotus feet, you have kindly visited my place, personally, to favor me with your causeless mercy. We have heard, my dear Lord, that by your various statements you can confirm your pure devotees to be more dear to you than Lord Balaram, or your constant servitor, the goddess of fortune. Your devotees are dearer to you than your first son, Lord Brahma, and I am sure that you have so kindly visited my place in order to prove your divine statement. I cannot imagine how people can be godless and demoniac even after knowing of your causeless mercy and affection for your devotees who are constantly engaged in Krishna consciousness. How can people who know these things forget your lotus feet?
My dear Lord, it is known to us that you are so kind and liberal that when a person leaves everything just to engage in Krishna consciousness, you sometimes give yourself in exchange for that unalloyed service. You have appeared in the Yadu dynasty to fulfill your mission of reclaiming all conditioned souls rotting in the sinful activities of material existence, and this appearance is already famous all over the world. My dear Lord, you are the ocean of unlimited mercy, love, and affection. Your transcendental form is full of bliss, knowledge, and eternity. You can attract everyone's heart by your beautiful form as Shama Sundar, Krishna. Your knowledge is unlimited, and to teach all people how to execute devotional service, you have sent your incarnation, Narayan, who is engaged in severe austerities and penances at Narayan. Oh, it says Narayan, yeah, that's confusing. Kindly, therefore, accept my humble obeisances at your lotus feet. My dear Lord, I beg to request you and your companions, the great sages and brahmanas, to remain at my place at least for a few days, so that this family of the famous King Nimi may be sanctified by the dust of your lotus feet. Lord Krishna could not refuse the request of his devotee, and thus he remained there for a few days with the sages to sanctify the city of Mithila and all its citizens. Meanwhile, the Brahmana Shruttadev, simultaneously receiving Lord Krishna and his associates at home, was transcendently overwhelmed with joy. After offering his guests nice sitting places, the Brahmana began to dance, waving around his wrap. Shruttadev, being not at all rich, offered only mattresses, wooden planks, straw carpets, and so on to his distinguished guests, Lord Krishna and the sages, but he welcomed them to the best of his ability. He spoke very highly of the Lord and the sages, and he and his wife washed the feet of each of them. After this, he took the water and sprinkled it all over the members of his family. And although the Brahmana appeared very poor, he was at that time most fortunate. While Shruttadev was welcoming Lord Krishna and his associates, he simply forgot himself in transcendental joy. After welcoming the Lord and his companions according to his ability, he brought fruits and incense, scented water, scented clay, tulasi leaves, kusha straw, and lotus flowers. They were not costly items and could be secured very easily, but because they were offered with devotional love, Lord Krishna and his associates accepted them gladly. The Brahmana's wife cooked simple foods like rice and dal, and Lord Krishna and his followers were very much pleased to accept them because they were offered in devotional love. When Lord Krishna and his associates were fed in this way, the Brahmana Shrutadev was thinking thus, I have fallen into the deep, dark well of householder life, and I am the most unfortunate person. How has it become possible that Lord Krishna, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and his associates, the great sages, whose very presence make a place as sanctified as a pilgrimage site, have agreed to come to my place? While the Brahmana was thinking in this way, the guests finished their lunch and sat back very comfortably. At that time, the Brahmana Shrutadev and his wife, children, and other relatives appeared there to render service to the distinguished guests. While touching the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, the Brahmana began to speak.
My dear Lord, he said, you are the Supreme Person, Purushottama, transcendently situated beyond the manifested and unmanifested material creation. The activities of this mature world and of the conditioned souls have nothing to do with your position. We can appreciate that not only today have you given me your audience, but you are associating with all the living entities as Paramatma since the beginning of creation. This statement by the Brahman is very instructive. It is a fact that the Supreme Lord, the Personality of Godhead, in his Paramatma feature, enters the creation of this material world as Mahavishnu, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu and Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. And in a very friendly attitude, the Lord sits along with the conditioned soul in the body. Therefore, every living entity has the Lord with him from the very beginning. But due to his mistaken consciousness of life, the living entity cannot understand this. When his consciousness, however, is changed into Krishna consciousness, he can immediately understand how Krishna is trying to assist the conditioned souls to get out of the material entanglement. Shukdev continued, my dear Lord, you have entered this material world as if sleeping. A conditioned soul, while sleeping, creates false or temporary worlds in his mind. He becomes busy in many illusory activities, sometimes being a king, sometimes being murdered, or sometimes going to an unknown city. And all these are simply temporary affairs. Similarly, your Lordship, apparently also in the sleeping condition, enters this material world to create a temporary manifestation, not for your personal necessities, but for the conditioned soul who wants to imitate your Lordship as the enjoyer. The conditioned soul's enjoyment in the material world is temporary and illusory, and yet the conditioned soul is by himself unable to create such a temporary situation for his illusory enjoyment. To fulfill his desires, although they are temporary and illusory, you enter this temporary manifestation to help him. Thus, from the beginning of the conditioned soul's entering into the material world, you are his constant companion. When, therefore, the conditioned soul comes in contact with a pure devotee and takes to devotional service, beginning with the process of hearing your transcendental pastimes, glorifying your transcendental activities, worshipping your eternal form in the temple, offering prayers to you and engaging in discussion to understand your transcendental position, he gradually becomes freed from the contamination of material existence. And as his heart becomes cleansed of all material dust, you gradually become visible there. Although you are constantly in the conditioned soul, with the conditioned soul, only when he becomes purified by devotional service do you become revealed to him. Others who are bewildered by futile activities, either by Vedic injunction or by customary dealings, and who do not take to devotional service, are captivated by the external happiness of the bodily concept of life. You are not revealed to such persons. Rather, you remain far, far away from them. But for one who engages in your devotional service and purifies his heart by constant chanting of your holy name, you are very easily understood as his eternal constant companion.
It is said that your Lordship, sitting in the heart of a devotee, gives him direction by which he can very quickly come back home, back to you. This direct dictation by you reveals your existence within the heart of the devotee. Only a devotee can immediately appreciate your existence within his heart. Whereas for a person who has only a bodily concept of life and is engaged in sense gratification, you always remain covered by the curtain of Yoga Maya. Such a person cannot realize that you are very near, sitting within the heart. For a non-devotee, you are appreciated only as ultimate death. Difference is like the difference between a cat carrying its kitten in the mouth and carrying a rat in its mouth. In the mouth of a cat, the rat feels its death, whereas in the kitten's in the mouth, the cat feels motherly affection. Similarly, you are present to everyone, but the non-devotees feel you as ultimate cruel death, whereas for a devotee, you are the supreme instructor and philosopher. The atheist therefore understands the presence of God as death, but the devotee understands the presence of God always within the heart. Take dictations from you and live transcendently, unaffected by the contamination of the material world. Nice, eh?
That's a very nice one.
Yeah. You are the supreme controller and superintendent of the material nature's activities. The atheistic class of men simply observes the activities of material nature, but cannot find you as the original background. Devotee, however, can immediately see your hand in every movement of material nature. The curtain of Yoga Maya cannot cover the eyes of the devotee of your Lordship, but it can cover the eyes of the non-devotee. The non-devotee is unable to see your face to face, just as a person whose eyes are blocked by the covering of a cloud cannot see the sun, although persons flying above the cloud can see the sun shine brilliantly as it is. My dear Lord, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. My dear self-effulgent Lord, I am your eternal servitor, and therefore kindly order me. What can I do for you? The conditioned souls feel the pangs of material contamination as threefold miseries as long as you are not visible to them. And as soon as you are visible by the development of Krishna consciousness, all mysteries of the material existence are simultaneously vanquished.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is naturally very much affectionately inclined to his devotees. When he heard Shrutadev's prayers of pure devotion, he was very much pleased and immediately caught his hands and addressed him thus: My dear Shrutadev, all these great sages, brahmanas and saintly persons have been very kind to you by personally coming here to see you. You should consider this opportunity to be a great fortune for you. They are so kind that they are traveling with me, and wherever they go, they immediately make the whole atmosphere as pure and as transcendence, simply by the touch of the dust of their feet. People are accustomed to go to the temples of God. They also visit holy places of pilgrimage, and after prolonged association with such activities for many days by touch and by worship, they gradually become purified. By the influence of great sages and saintly persons is so great that by seeing them, one immediately becomes completely purified. Moreover, the very purifying potency of pilgrimages or worship of different demigods is also achieved by the grace of saintly persons. A pilgrimage site becomes a holy place because of the presence of saintly persons. My dear Shrutadev, when a person is born as a brahmana, he immediately becomes the best of all human beings. And if such a brahmana, remaining self-satisfied, practices austerities, studies the Vedas, and engages in my devotional service, as is the duty of the Brahmana. Or in other words, if a Brahmana becomes a Vaishnava, how wonderful is his greatness? My feature of four-handed Narayan is not so pleasing or dear to me as is a Brahmana Vaishnava. Brahmana means one well conversant with Vedic knowledge. A Brahmana is the insignia of perfect knowledge, and I am the full-fledged manifestation of all gods. Less intelligent men do not understand me, nor do they understand the influence of the Brahmana Vaishnava. They are influenced by the three modes of material nature, and thus dare to criticize me and my pure devotees. A Brahmana Vaishnava, or a devotee already on the Brahminical platform, can realize me within his heart, and therefore he definitely concludes that the whole cosmic manifestation and its different features are effects of different energies of the Lord. Thus he has a clear conception of the whole material nature and the total material energy. And in every action, such a devotee sees me only and nothing else. My dear Shrutadev, you may therefore accept all these great saintly persons, brahmanas and sages, as my bona fide representatives. By worshipping them faithfully, you will be worshipping me more diligently. I consider worship of my devotees to be better than the direct worship of me. If someone attempts to worship me directly without worshipping my devotees, I do not accept such worship, even though it may be presented with great opulence.
In this way, both the Brahmana Shrutadev and the king of Mithila, under the direction of the Lord, worship both Krishna and his followers, the great sages and saintly Brahmins, on an equal level of spiritual importance. Both Brahmana and king ultimately achieved the supreme goal of being transferred to the spiritual world. The devotee does not know anyone except Lord Krishna, and Krishna is most affectionate to his devotee. Lord Krishna remained in Mithila both at the house of the Brahman Shrutadev and at the palace of King Bahalashva, and after favouring them lavishly by his transcendental instructions, he went back to his capital city Dwarka. The instruction we receive from this incident is that King Bahalashva and Shrutadev, the Brahmana, were accepted by the Lord on the same level because both were pure devotees. This is the real qualification for being recognized by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because it has become the fashion in this age to be falsely proud of having taken birth in the family of a Kshatriya or a Brahman. We see persons without any qualification other than birth claiming to be a Brahman or Kshatriya or Vaishya. But as stated in the scriptures, Kalu Sudra Sambhava, in sage of Kali everyone is born a Shudra. This is because there is no performance of the purificatory processes known as samskaras, which begin from the time of the mother's pregnancy and continue up to the point of the individual's death. No one can be classified as a member of a particular caste, especially of a higher caste, Brahman, Kshatriya or Vaishya, simply by birthright. If one is not purified by the process of the seed-giving ceremony or Gavardhan samskara, he is immediately classified amongst the Sudras, because only the Sudras do not undergo this purificatory process. Sex life without the purificatory process of Krishna consciousness is merely the seed-giving process of the Shudras or the animals. Krishna consciousness is therefore the best process of purification. By this process, everyone can come to the platform of a Vaishnava, which includes having all the qualifications of a Brahman. The Vaishnavas are trained to become freed from the 4 kinds of sinful activities: illicit sex, indulgence in intoxicants, gambling, and eating animal foods. One cannot be on the Brahminical platform without having those preliminary qualifications, and without becoming a qualified Brahmana, one cannot become a pure devotee. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 86th chapter of Krishna, the kidnapping of Subhadra, and Lord Krishna's visiting Shrutadev and Bahalashva.
What was nice is actually that not only Krishna became 2 Krishnas, but all the sages also. Isn't that nice? And it's not that they were television multiplication, but they were actually really in both places. So this is actually amazing. Okay, now we got to a very short chapter. Chapter 87, Prayers by the Personified Vedas. It's the longest chapter.
It takes like between 7 and 10 days.
Yeah, this is really like, it is only philosophy, which is in some ways nice. King Parikshit inquired from Sukadeva Goswami about a very important topic in understanding transcendental subject matter. His question was, since the Vedic knowledge generally deals with the subject matter of the three qualities of material world, how then can it approach the subject matter of transcendence, which is beyond the approach of the three material modes? And since the mind is material and the vibrations of words is a material sound, how can the Vedic knowledge, expressing by material sound the thoughts of the material mind, approach the transcendence? Description of a subject matter necessitates describing its source of emanation, its qualities and its activities. And such descriptions can be possible only by thinking with the material mind and by vibrating material words. Brahman, or the Absolute Truth, has no material qualities, but our power of speaking does not go beyond the material qualities. So how then can Brahman, the Absolute Truth, be described by your words? I do not see how it is possible to understand transcendence from such an expression of material sound. The purpose of King Parikshit's inquiry was to ascertain from Sukadeva Goswami whether the Vedas ultimately describe the Absolute Truth as impersonal or as personal. Understanding of the Absolute Truth progresses in three features: impersonal Brahman, Paramatma localized in everyone's heart, and at last the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. The Vedas deal with three departments of activities. One is called Karma Kanda, or the activities under the Vedic injunctions, which gradually purify one to understand his real position. The next is Jnana Kanda, the process of understanding the Absolute Truth by speculative methods, speculations, educated guesses. Yeah. And the third is Upasana Kanda, or worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and sometimes of demigods also. The worship of the demigods recommended in the Vedas is ordered with the understanding of the demigod's relationship to the Personality of Godhead. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has many parts and parcels. Some are called samsas, or his personal expansions, and some are called vibhinamsas, the living entities. All such expansions, I don't know what it is today, I just read all kinds of things. All such expansions, both swamsas and vibhinamsas, are emanations from the original Personality of Godhead. Swamsa expansions are called Vishnu Tattva, whereas the vibhinamsa expansions are called Jiva Tattva. The different demigods are Jiva Tattva. The conditioned souls are generally put into the activities of the material world for sense gratification, and therefore, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita, to regulate those who are very much addicted to different kinds of sense gratification, the worship of demigods is sometimes recommended. For example, for persons very much addicted to meat eating, the Vedic injunction recommends that after worshipping the form of goddess Kali and sacrificing a goat, not any other animal, under Karma Kanda regulation, the worshipper may be allowed to eat meat. The idea is not to encourage one to eat meat, but to allow one who insists on eating meat to eat it under certain restricted conditions. Therefore, worship of the demigods is not worship of the Absolute Truth, but by worshipping the demigods, one gradually becomes to accept the Supreme Personality of Godhead in an indirect way. This indirect acceptance is described in the Bhagavad Gita as avidi. Avidi means not bona fide. Since demigods worship is not bona fide, the impersonalists stress concentration on the impersonal feature of the Absolute Truth. King Parikshit's question was, which is the ultimate target of the Vedic knowledge? This concentration on the impersonal feature of the Absolute Truth, or concentration on the personal feature. After all, both the impersonal and personal feature of the Supreme Lord are beyond our material conception. The impersonal feature of the Absolute, the Brahman effulgence, is but rays of the personal body of Krishna. These rays of the personal body of Krishna are cast all over the creation of the Lord. And the portion of the effulgence which is covered by the material cloud is called the created cosmos of the three material qualities, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. How can persons who are within this clouded portion called the material world conceive the absolute truth by speculative methods?
In answering King Parikshit's question, Sukadeva Goswami replied that the Supreme Personality of Godhead has created the mind, senses, and all living force of the living entity for the purpose of sense gratification and transmigration from one kind of body to another, as well as for the purpose of allowing liberation from material conditions. In other words, one can utilize the senses, mind, and living force for sense gratification and transmigration from one body to another, or from matter or for the matter liberation. The Vedic injunctions are there just to give the conditioned souls the chance for sense gratification under regulated principles, and thereby also to give them the chance for promotion to higher conditions of life. Ultimately, if the consciousness is purified, one comes to his original position and goes back home, back to Godhead. The living entity is intelligent. One, therefore, has to utilize his intelligence over the mind and the senses. When the mind and the senses are purified by the proper use of intelligence, then the conditioned soul is liberated. Otherwise, if the intelligence is not properly utilized in controlling the senses and mind, the conditioned soul continues to transmigrate from one kind of body to another, simply for sense gratification. Another point clearly stated in the answer of Shukadeva Goswami is that it is the mind, senses, and intelligence of the individual living entity that the Lord created. It is not stated that the living entities themselves were ever created, just as the shining particles of the sun rays always exist with the sun. The living entity exists eternally as part and parcels of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But just as the sun rays are sometimes covered by a cloud which is created by the sun, so the conditioned souls, although eternally existing as parts of the Supreme Lord, are sometimes put within the cloud of the material concept of life. In the darkness of ignorance, the whole Vedic process is to alleviate that darkened condition. Ultimately, when the senses and mind of the conditioned being are fully purified, he comes to his original position, called Krishna consciousness, and that is liberation. Très bien. Merci beaucoup. So we'd like to thank everybody for coming, and thank Srila Prabhupada for giving this wonderful insight into the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And let's go and have some Mahaprasadam and some Bhaja Hooray.
Tomorrow, Kanchanavali and me will not be here. And Kanai will take responsibility.
I might not be here, it depends.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, something's happened in my life.
Oh,
But Prabhu's here, he can rock and roll.
we might have to do something. Okay, so that's good to know, because then I can find somebody else.
Yeah.
We're not irreplaceable. Huh?
That's true, that is true. I am replaceable.
Well, not only you. I think it's all of us. Except for Krishna, he's like...
We're all replaceable. Yes.
Which is good, actually.
Yes.
Keeps me humble. All right. How doors to this?
Joy. Oh my goodness. Will you mute that microphone the next time you bless it?
Sorry?
I said, will you mute that microphone?